West side of Chicago, it's time for the Gregory Struss Show. I'm Scotty Joe Vegas, inviting you to stay tuned for the next 30 minutes where you'll hear stuff and crazy business. And you'll need to know all that great stuff and taboo topics. And now, ladies and gentlemen, a man who is better my bar mitzvah, Mr. Gregory Struss!
Hey, I love the fanfare. Anyway, we continue. Scotty Joe Vegas. And welcome. I want to say, como está, Cześć, because you are Polish, right?
Cześć.
Cześć.
Nazinówka.
Nazinówka. And to all of the people in Cicero in Poland, we are an international sensation now. People are watching in Poland. Did you know that? This is GS coming to you nearly live, but always full of love from the mothership here in Elmhurst, Illinois, known as NBC Comcast. And you know, I love coming here each and every week because they always remind me that I have to pay my bill. Thank you.
Right now.
I don't know if any of you have been up on the news, but Brian Williams of NBC News, NBC Nightly News, got into a habit of conflating. I like how these new words come out with the public relations. It's called conflating. It's when you take a story, you take one story and combine it with another story, and then come up with a new story. And as a news personality or as a serious journalist, that's a no-no because you're dealing with the public trust. So anyway, you've heard about it. You know, the man who tells fake news is quitting.
Yes.
No, you were supposed to say...
Brian Williams.
No, Jon Stewart, actually.
Johnny Stewart, ladies and gentlemen.
But in a strange twist, Brian Williams is taking credit for Jon Stewart's departure from The Daily Show. He conflated the story. I know we stepped on it.
Is that a gynecological word?
No, it is not. Speaking of Brian Williams, someone said, hey, Brian, you got 60 minutes.
60 minutes?
Yeah, he says, you got 60 minutes. He says, I got a spot on the show? He says, no, you got 60 minutes to pack your shit and get out. Thank you. So let's get this straight. Jon Stewart tells fake news to great acclaim and is bowing out with grace. Brian Williams reports fake news on a real news program and has yet to be canned. I don't get it. It's also been reported that the only bird shot down during Brian Williams' combat zone reporting was the NBC peacock. Thank you. They're calling it Choppergate, by the way, for those of you scoring at home. And there are murmurs from the hallowed halls of NBC that Ann Curry will be taking the blame for Choppergate, because everything's Ann Curry's fault.
I love
at
Curry.
NBC, right? And Brian Williams wrote that he was stepping aside to unemployment. Thank you. Do you want to know why Brian Williams' story is like Lifesavers?
Why is that?
Because it has many holes in it. And you know what's more? Brian Williams was not fired because he's not a woman or a Latino. So remember that. He lied about being shot down, just like I was the last time I asked someone out. And poor Bruce Jenner. Can you say wow? Can you say wow? He was he was a gold medal champion. I remember as kids, he was on the box of every Wheaties.
He wore nut huggers.
So have you ever been friends with a transsexual in pre-op?
No.
It's fascinating. I'll have to share that. Maybe during church.
They're people. They just, you know.
My softball coach in Seattle, Washington was transsexual in pre-op.
Was he a good-looking woman?
If you're into that sort of thing, I think.
I'm just asking because
I should say sort of thing.
I mean,
into that sort of person.
Phil Hartman, you remember Phil Hartman from Saturday Night Live? Mm-hmm. Well, he would always put a bunch of lipstick on and says, "Kiss me where I poop." That's all I remember him saying. I'm pretty.
When in doubt, go to the poop. All right. Anyway. Anyway, we are emanating almost live here from NBC Comcast here in Elmhurst, Illinois. And what is Elmhurst known for? I thought it used to be like Solozzi Edelson Chevrolet.
I always thought it was known for Red Hots, like the hot dog place, the Berkeys or Perkies down the road.
No.
Like men that like have hot dogs stuck in their neck fat.
No.
No?
Where you always save more money. That's what Elmhurst, I thought, was always, because they always had the big Chevy dealer out here and everything else. And who was that other one back in the 80s? She said, you're a great wife, Carol.
Jim Story Chevrolet and a great city Waukegan.
You're a great wife, Carol. And she'd always say, you're a great Chevy dealer, Jim. So we know the family business was all about the marriage, right?
I bet he had a big tongue.
I'm sure. Is that a new Chevy model? All right. Anyway,
An elderly.
I'm Greg. This is The Greg Show, and we are reinventing community television here in the west side of Chicago, and we'll be back in just a minute.
Yeah!
If you want to follow me, since you're so critical of everyone else, let's hear it for this guy. He's not only doing the announcing, but he's also doing the camera and all kinds of stuff. How you doing, Scott? Anyway, this is great. And welcome back, everybody, to The Greg Show. I'm Greg Struss, along with Scotty Joe Vegas. I was told that I haven't had enough energy and that I'm not as into this show as I was into other shows that we have done not so long ago.
Who opened their yap?
I just, people always come to me and say, well, why don't you do that with it? Why don't you do this with it? And, they all have a point, right? I owe you an apology. First of all, welcome to everybody, and this is 2015.
Yay!
I don't have anything that matches with that.
Okay.
But we had not seen each other in quite some time. We haven't talked like that, but we seriously have not talked, and had some things on the personal front. We had to, put a dog to sleep, which was not a lot of fun. Kind of came up quick.
You've always been a possum.
What do you mean?
Well, like me, we'll call me a fish, and you're a possum. So I go look for you. I go to the water edge. I look up in there. You're in a tree. It's nighttime. You're sleeping. You're hanging upside down. I don't know what the hell's going on, but I'm.
Yeah, I mean, do I seem strange to you?
No, it's just that you're a possum. You just got a different. Your path is different.
I just kind of wonder in my late adult, getting into our late 40s here, if I've become quite reclusive in a sense, because I don't have a lot of patience for people's, not you, but just people in general.
Okay,
you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because it's not like we talk all the time.
Well,
we're able to pick up the phone and call, except when you're in relationships. But other than that, that's been the story of my life. All my buddies always had the relationships, and Greg was always dumped when Greg probably could have had all the relationships.
Greg was never dumped.
Right?
Greg has a different schedule. I'm a 9-to-5er.
Mm-hmm.
You just start work sometimes at 5 and do your business. So you're a night possum, and I'm a fish.
Okay, I understand that. So anyway,
Fish get laid. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know how though. I have no idea.
They must be like strangers in the night, exchanging eggs, fertilizing without whatever.
Something like that. So it was fascinating. We come back into the studio and we have, what's wrong?
Is that you?
I don't know. This studio has a lot of history with a lot of local shows.
Oh boy.
And what really what's nice is that they give us a studio to work with.
God bless the community of Elmhurst.
Unfortunately, some of our equipment is a little dated, and it takes a little bit of time to understand how some of this stuff works. And I feel like as people move up that ladder of in television production, that they kind of forget where they came from. So the nice cameras that no one ever got to use, all of a sudden they get to use the really nice equipment, and they're not as, would you say, generous with it.
This place reminds me of an old truck stop.
Yeah, where you can like stop off and
You're like, hey,
it's enough to get by. But you know what? I'm tired of just getting by.
it's like if I use 2-ply toilet paper, I clog the toilet. If I use 1-ply toilet paper, I just have to keep on wiping. It's exhausting.
Right.
Especially when you get sick.
And don't you kind of get tired of, like, you'd like to move up a little bit? Like, get some of the bells and whistles and, because it's like you get a little older, you didn't have a car with air conditioning when you're younger, and all of a sudden you're able to get power seats, power windows, the disc changer, all the latest stuff. Mm-hmm. And when it's come to doing shows and stuff, we've never really had that opportunity. It's always been very, shall we say, vintage.
Basic.
Basic.
The basic.
But as Dr. John used to always say, Mr. Dr. John Malloy always said, keep it simple, stupid. That was always the thing. As we were producing shows in high school and like our news show, it was so simple the way the show was produced. And I always wanted to do, well, why don't we do this or do that? And he'd say, why? It was basic because he kept it manageable.
What he was trying to say was, if it's probably you.
No, it's you.
It ain't me.
That's not my fault.
Okay. People have to like you. So I don't think it's about the camera angle or how the background is. If people like you, they'll watch. And if they don't like you, they'll come up to you in a grocery store and say, listen, you piece of dung. But I get always weird looks in the grocery stores around here, and they're like, where do I know that guy from? Is he from a truck stop? Yes.
Well, you know what I'm getting now? I had 2 people tell me this past week, aren't you Mike from Mike and Molly? I said, I think I'm a little bigger than that guy. That guy is huge.
Well, he's a good boy.
I was like, wow, you have a smile, too.
He likes his big au jus on that show,
All right, so should we burn the bridge some more?
Let's burn the bridge.
No.
Randy, please, write us. Come to the...
All right, I'm going to tell you how inappropriate we were.
Yes.
And I'm going to get rid of this. We were so inappropriate. We did like our first 2 shows, and it was really exciting. I was telling young Michael on the way out here, I said, there was a guy who did the first show with us. And he said it was such a horrible experience that he would never come back again to do the show. And I'm like, how could it be so... Do you remember that night?
Yes.
I thought we had a great time. And this guy comes in, this cat comes in, and he's like, yeah, you got to do this and move. And we're like, okay, whatever his name was, John, we'll say John.
Was it the guy that had the kind of tarded, like...
No.
That kind of...
No.
That's another... You remind me
No, we don't...
You remind me of a rabbit.
No, he had like... he didn't. But anyway, I will never forget that night. So Bill Wilt was here, Celine, the sisters, everybody was here. I felt like good energy that night.
Okay.
And this guy just comes in and rained on the parade on our first show out. And I remember Celine sitting in, we're all like talking about what we're going to be doing. I think you ought to do this. And then he leaves, and he never came back and said, this was the worst experience I have ever had in my life. Was I that bad that night?
You can't please everybody. You have to, let's think. If 100,000 people like you out of 10 million, that's pretty good.
I guess so. Someone will always find fault, I guess, in something that we
that's why my mother doesn't watch the show.
I don't think your mother knows about the show, because if she did, I don't know if you'd still be working there.
It's okay. I have to show empathy and work and look at them as a young couple of 2 young people that got married and show compassion towards them and forgive them and work on myself as well.
Absolutely.
I don't think that's going to happen in 10 years, but we're close.
We were talking about Facebook before the show,
Sorry.
and I said, it's just bizarre what people post on this. I never look at Facebook. So occasionally I'll check it out, and I'll post stuff like this media story about Brian Williams. Now, we did some jokes at the beginning, and I'll be honest with you, I cannot imagine how this man feels, all right? You're the number one guy, and everybody holds you to like this standard, okay? You're reporting the news and da-da, but it's a slippery slope because journalism, stories don't sell. Talent sells the stories is what it seems to be.
And when you're the top dog, you only got one way to go but down.
So anyway, he combined a couple stories, and long story short, he was suspended for 6 months. Now, I've been looking at this at the PR angle, and I'm thinking, Where is the accountability from NBC's management? Because where was the oversight? You got a guy out there, your number one guy.
Producer.
Yeah,
Director.
your number one producer is out. And let's face it, in business, your top producers usually live by different laws than the rest of the land because they produce.
Yep.
A lot of these people that are heavy producers are very unmanageable people. But general managers and people will oftentimes overlook things because they bring in a lot of money.
It's working good, baby.
Right.
Yep.
So in this instance, Brian Williams went on David Letterman a year and a half ago. Then he gave an interview to the Stars and Stripes paper with the military, told a story on how not only the helicopter in front of his was shot down, but his was shot down too with a RPG something. It was very dramatized. And it turned out that it wasn't true at all. But nobody's given this guy credit for actually being there and reporting this as it happened. So all of the man's work that he's done has been kind of overlooked by a couple of these slips of the tongue. Now I was looking today like 42 times. So I don't know how he's going to survive this. But so I posted something about him on Facebook, and then Mr. Swanstrom, who was the former speech department chairperson at Thornton Township High School back when we were there, great man. Just a good guy. He was always, the speech team always won under his direction. And when he left, it certainly was missed. He became an assistant principal, left, and now he's the big man. He's a superintendent. I believe it's Joliet Schools, but I'm not sure. So he dropped me a line to remind me of telling the truth. And I thought it was kind of funny, put a smiley face, because back in the day, I said something that was inappropriate about a teacher on the show that wasn't edited out of the show. So all of a sudden, I'm hearing from these people that this teacher just wants my head on a platter. And I mean, all of these people that were in this homeroom come out and say, oh, she's really, ticked at you and everything else.
You're young, you're a teenager.
I'm young, I'm a teenager.
You'd listen to anybody.
I listened to everybody, but I was laughing hysterically because I thought it was funny, to be honest with you. But the lesson I got out of this was very powerful, because I went to see her after school, and I remember I walked in, I was very cavalier, and I said, oh, hi, how are you? I heard that you want to see me. And I kind of laughed because I thought she was just tongue-in-cheek. She laid it out like you can't believe. She said, I'm giving you 3 choices. You can walk away from that show, which wasn't going to happen. I can't even tell you how many times people said, if you don't get along with that teacher, we're taking your show away.
Wow.
And it never happened, which was great. And so she said, I want you to retract that statement, take it back, and have the law teacher on, who also happened to be a speech team coach. I wasn't on speech team, but I was in the speech department with the show and such. And so I remember him, heads were going to roll, obviously, and mine was, and she said, and the third choice you have is I'm going to sue you. And you know how much I'm going to sue you for, Mr. Struss? I'm going to sue you for $250. And my brother is a high-power attorney and blah, 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 blah. Now, as a 17-year-old punk, and I really wasn't a punk, I think I was a good kid. At least that's the report. Many people said I was a good kid. Long story short is we started like just ripping all over her because she just really got under my skin. So the next week we
Is she dead now?
I have no idea.
Probably not.
So the next week we rerun this piece just to show it what was said.
Yep.
And then we ended up saying it.
You gave an apology.
Gave an apology, and then I introduced the man who was the speech coach, who happened to be the law instructor, and we were talking about libel and slander.
Okay.
Now, I want to tell you the rest of this story because we got a break. And what happened, because what this teacher said to me afterwards, the one that came on the show.
Okay.
So we're with Scotty Joe Vegas, emanating from Elmhurst, Illinois, and we'll be back in just a moment.
All right.
Well.
The new area code, Sammy. And I have enough equipment in this barrel here to do an hour show for the adults or the children.
Well, we don't have that kind of time today. We only have about 10 minutes. 10 minutes. What can we do?
I usually do a joke when I come in, and I say, "Hi, everybody. Is everybody here? Yeah. Okay, I'll see you later."
Well, see, the
Goodbye.
problem is they probably can't hear you because you have the music playing so loud. I don't see them jump your age. We don't have that much time in the show.
And we are back. Thank you. So, what were you saying?
Hey, Greg, tell us more about that great story about the teacher and the Brian cuckoo.
So anyway, long story short, the law teacher comes on.
Yes.
We start talking, and after the show, he kind of let his hair down.
Yep.
And he said, "Struss, man," he said, "I'm going to tell you something." This is what he said to me. "If I was not on the union, I would totally represent you, because there is no way that you ever defamed her and that you ever, maligned her in any way. I made a comment, an innocuous comment. She's pregnant, I hope." Because this person came on the show, worked with her, and said, "Oh, so-and-so, she's pregnant, And we had a bunch of breakdancers in the room. And I said, "She's married, I hope." And she flew off the handle, and she had every right to do that. But it wasn't a comment meant to rip all over. But it taught me that the power of the word, and especially being in, whether we're in public someplace and what we talk about, that it carries a lot of weight. So we made a comment, we probably made comments on this particular show tonight that may have offended
The only thing
people.
that saves us is nobody watches.
Well, that's one thing that's going for us.
Just, you know what I mean.
So anyway, I really liked that he came to bat for me, and he just kind of said, "You know what, just let it go." But we didn't. We just had fun at her expense for the rest of the year, and then she went on a leave and never came back.
Wow.
Ooh. But I'll tell you what, I could have made my future had she taken that all the way to the top, to the superintendent and everything else, because the media would have been all over that story.
But the media wasn't around back then.
No.
They would have said, "You're stupid, be quiet, kid, blah, blah, blah." I went and seen Sinbad at the Chicago Theater.
How is he?
He's 62 years old, and I got tired of laughing. He did 2 hours where he was great. And,
Was it better than Tony Benson?
oh, yes.
I always thought that T-Bone used to always kind of mirror his act or something.
He was about 20 feet from us, and he did a good show. And I just want to give a shout-out to Sinbad and all the people in Oak Park that are around roulette tables that look at me and go, "What?" And that's about it, Larry.
Larry Garrett?
No, that's another Larry.
Okay.
Larry's like, "What time's that show on?" I said, "I don't know."
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Wow, that was spittle. There's a lot of spittle.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Yeah.
Okay. So Rosie O'Donnell is leaving The View again. And did we see this coming, by the way?
You actually watch these shows?
I have not watched her, but
I've been watching little Dr. Phil. Yeah, man, they got some crazy kids on that show. Good Lord. That Facebook and stuff. Jesus Lord.
now you were asking me about the job. You were asking me about the new career as
How's the new career?
counselor. And
How's it doing?
It's fascinating. I would never think in a million years that I'd be working with a population of people that sorely need help. Many are trying, but not overcoming their addiction to opiates. When I speak of opiates, I speak of heroin. And but what it teaches me, actually my own life journey has taught me that people are people, really, no matter who you are, what color you are. And even though people may make jokes about other people at other people's expense or what have you, we're still people. And it doesn't matter if somebody's been incarcerated. It doesn't matter because I really think that the United States is a land of opportunity and second chances. Okay, so when I've sat down and I've counseled people that have just gotten out of jail or picking up other cases and just don't see the relationship between their behavior and their use, it's been fascinating. As one of my mentors says to me, he says, not everybody's cut out to work with this population of people. Serious crimes are committed, armed robberies are committed for certain kinds of drugs. And I don't know, if somebody came up to me and said, well, what would you rather be? Would you rather be addicted to crack or would you rather be addicted to heroin? And I really don't know, because many of the crimes that are committed are people that have issues with those particular drugs and mental illness. So,
us people on this side of it have to look at those people with unconditional love, with Christ-centered wholeness, and just love them, because that's the only way they're going to get out of the hole. That's it.
And also the problem,
or Buddha wholeness, or whatever.
Right, right. But there is a spiritual.
You believe in your religion, that's your business.
There is a spiritual component, obviously, to recovery, and when we talk about step work, the first step in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous talks about powerlessness. I am powerless over, for the sake of AA and the 12-step I'm powerless over alcohol, okay? But I think people can benefit from it by saying, I'm powerless over people, places, and things. So as we talk about Brian Williams, I try to take a look at this from the 12 steps, and I say, okay, what was Brian Williams powerless over? Was he powerless over the attention, the visibility, the recognition, the income, the power? This is a man who could talk to anyone in the, anybody
My
in
money's
the
on the power.
world.
And the feeling he got out of it. It probably just got out of control.
So do you think he got so intoxicated by the power of his word that he started believing that everything he says or said carried such weight because he was the number one guy?
Number one.
Yeah. What do you think the price is that he's paid for that, though?
He's not number one no more.
Does he have the opportunity to come back? And that's what I think...
we all do.
I think we do. But what I think what's really sad about all of this is that there's so many people on the sidelines saying, oh, he lied, he cheated, he did this, he did that. But how many professional sports teams, how many of these players have lied, cheated, beat their wives, and still playing? If we have...
Not Pete Rose.
I guess you got a point. I want to thank you for coming in, Scotty Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Struss, for having me.
I want to thank Super Mikey on camera, Bob, our director, and all of you for watching. And we'll be here again next time.
And we miss Mike.
And we miss Mike.
And we miss Bobby, the other
Bobby Mudra. We hope everyone's doing well. And we are on YouTube at G Struss, or the Greg Struss Show on YouTube.com. Greg Struss, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.